Do-do-do-do-do-do. Good evening and welcome to the Rory Talks Football channel, your daily Arsenal news, updates, reactions, and my opinions. Thank you for coming back. If you're new here, please do subscribe. Bottom right-hand corner. It massively helps me out as we're on the road to 3,000 subscribers. People already in the chat. Jakob, George, Jamie, Sam, Dominic. Good to see you all. I hope you're all doing well on this Tuesday evening. Tuesday's always a bit of a rough one, although we did have a bank holiday yesterday, so it's kind of like a Monday. I'm doing well, thank you, George. Soon, it's good to see you as well. If you're on TikTok and you want to head over to the YouTube channel, the link is in my bio. Dropping a subscription does massively help me out. Xhaka leaving is the headline for the live stream. We will get into it. It's quite a heavy transfer gossip show today. But yeah, it starts with Xhaka potentially leaving Arsenal this summer. £120 million for Declan Rice. That's what West Ham are wanting. İlkay Gundogan to Arsenal on a free. Could that happen this summer? Austin Trusty also potentially leaving this summer. And then a few odds and sods. And of course, guess the gooner. There was no five-a-side yesterday, George. There was no five-a-side yesterday because it was a bank holiday. So we've had... We've had 2 weeks. We had 2 bank holidays in a row that we've not had five-a-side. So that'll be back next Monday. Joseph, good to see you. Terence, Tom, Deadpool, Henry Gill, all of you in the chat. It is good to see you. Let's get stuck into it, though. Granit Xhaka could leave Arsenal this summer. This is coming from Patrick Berger. He says Leverkusen are working on the transfer of Granit Xhaka. He said the Miracle did first, apparently. The Bundesliga side would have to pay a double-digit million fee as Xhaka's contract with Arsenal runs until 2024 with an option to extend by a year. Arsenal want to strengthen in midfield with Caicedo and Rice being targeted. So it's interesting, and multiple sources confirming that Bayer Leverkusen are very interested in Granit Xhaka. Could we see him go back to the Bundesliga? Now, it's an interesting one for me because I don't see him fighting so hard to get us back into the Champions League to leave when we get back there. And I don't necessarily think he's going to struggle to get game time for Arsenal next season. Yes, we're looking at bringing in upgrades on him, Declan Rice specifically, but there are going to be a lot of games to play next season. And I really just don't think he'll struggle to get... Yeah, he might not start every game. He might not start many games. But I do think you could see him coming on quite a lot. And I just feel like he'd give another year to Arsenal. But then the thing is, at that point, he's 30 years old. This might be his final chance for another club to come in and give him that long-term contract. It's an awkward position when you get to this age, where effectively you have one big contract left in you, and I don't think he'll ever get that at Arsenal. So if he's not going to get it at Arsenal, I can understand why he might be interested by Bayer Leverkusen. But on the other hand, I just feel like, why would you leave Arsenal now? You've worked so hard to get us back to the Champions League. Give it one more year. And I think we need him. Even if we bring in Declan Rice and Moises Caicedo, which is the dream, and a dream that I'm not even sure is going to be possible with how much both clubs want for those players. Even if we bring both of them in, I still think Granit Xhaka is a valuable player to have in the squad. In and around the squad, the players love him. He's a mature player that's been... I think he's our longest-serving player now. Oh, Rob Holding may be longer, but he's one of our longest-serving players. His maturity is there for all to see, and I just think he's an important leader to have around when some of the players that we're bringing in might not necessarily be ready to do that yet. Obviously, Declan Rice is a very good person to have in the dressing room, but I don't know. For me, even if you get a double-digit million fee, right? So you're talking 10 million or more. If you get 12, 15 million for him, rather than maybe selling him next year for 5 million, is it worth that extra bit of money to lose him? I'm not sure. George says, I know we won't get it, but based on his performances this season, I want 40 million for Granit. Yeah, that's the thing. You're not going to get 40 million for Granit. You're not going to get 20 million for Granit. You're probably going to get 12 or 15. Ross, good to see you. So I'm not sure that it's worth it. I'm not sure it's worth it. And let's say, right, let's assume Sambi Lokonga isn't at the club next season, whether that be because he's on loan or because we sell him. Whether or not we've got El Neni, I don't know, but you're still actually going to be quite short in terms of midfield players, even if you bring in Rice and Caicedo. You bring in Rice and Caicedo, you've got Rice, Caicedo, Partey, Jorginho, effectively, in terms of players that you'd be happy to start in the Champions League or the Premier League. So I really just don't see it happening. I really don't see it happening. Granit staying, no questions about that. That's what Ross says. SAS does stuff, says, why so little? Well, the reason for so little is that he's only got a year left on his contract. There is a year option to extend, and he is 30 years old. And also, Arsenal just don't tend to get much money for players. 40 million ain't out of the question. The market is screwed because the likes of United. The problem with that is, Dan, is that the market for the absolute top-end players is massively screwed. The market below that, and the market for like young prospects is screwed. The market for sort of good players isn't that bad, really. Could Zinchenko play in the midfield? He could play in the midfield, but I don't think that's something that we're going to see looking at the players we're bringing in. Ross says, our biggest issue with Invincible was that we got rid of the experienced players before the younger players were ready to replace them. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And George says, if we were to sell Sambi this summer, how much do you think we'd get for him? I think for Sambi, he's young, which helps, but I really don't think you'd be getting more than 16, 17, 18 million for him. We need his leadership with UCL next year. Yeah, I agree. Not even just with the UCL, but also just with another grinding Premier League season. So yeah, for me, Granit Xhaka should stay. Arsenal shouldn't sell him unless Bayer Leverkusen do offer something crazy. And it does sound like Bayer Leverkusen are very interested, which you can take one or two ways. I'd rather keep Sambi. I wouldn't mind loaning him out again. I do think there is a talent there. It could be possible, by the way, that we loan him out to Burnley. Vincent Kompany's Burnley. Kompany's a fan of him. What do you think about Nuno Tavares? I think you sell Tavares. He's got an attitude problem. And I just don't think he fits anywhere in our system at all, really. He's a wing back, ultimately, and we don't play a wing back. Diaby and Frimpong at a minimum. Yeah, well, that is the option. We'll talk about... There is an option, by the way, that Granit Xhaka gets used in some sort of swap deal. Potentially Granit Xhaka plus cash for Moussa Diaby, for example, because we have been linked to Moussa Diaby quite a bit, so that is an option. Rice price rumours are stupid money. Man City, Chelsea, and PSG ruining the transfer market for the future of football. I don't disagree, but the market can only be skewed for so long. The market can only be skewed for so long before clubs run out of money. Ultimately, you've only got a finite number of clubs that can pay the money for those top-end players. And there are quite a lot of top-end midfielders that are going to be available this summer, which is why I don't think West Ham are going to get anywhere near 120 million for Declan Rice. We haven't got onto the Trusty thing yet, Exan, so don't worry. Also, let's not pretend we didn't spend 80 million for Pepe. We did spend 80 million on Pepe. Yeah, we're not part of the problem, I don't think, because that was one mistake and it was under a completely different leadership team to what we have now. But yeah, we did pay 80 million for Pepe. But look, getting on to that 120 million for Declan Rice. So this was coming from Jason Burt in the Telegraph, who is kind of a top-tier source. He says, West Ham want Jude Bellingham-style money for Declan Rice. Arsenal appear to be Rice's most likely destination and are understood to regard a fee as 70 million being far more realistic for the midfielder. So basically, Arsenal think he's worth about 70. Although some of that will be posturing. You know, publicly, we think he's worth 70. Maybe privately, we're willing to go up to about 90. And effectively, West Ham are starting their public stance at 120 million, which is crazy. It is crazy. I don't care if you're a West Ham fan. I don't care how much he means to West Ham. I don't care how important he is to West Ham. He is a player that has publicly stated he is jealous of his English teammates playing Champions League football. It's been made clear from West Ham and from Rice that he will leave this summer. Yes, he's got a year left on his contract with an option to extend it by another year, but he's leaving this summer. It just is happening. So West Ham are trying to posture themselves in a position of power, but they don't have that power. The only power West Ham have is if they can get teams into a bidding war. And I think they'll struggle to get teams into a bidding war this summer because of how many midfielders are available. If Arsenal get into a bidding war, how much will it really take for us to turn our attention to Zubamendi or Romeo Lavia or Amadou Onana or Orkwan Koku? There are a lot of options, and so I'm not convinced that West Ham are going to get the bidding war that they want. And simply, Rice isn't worth 120 million. I genuinely, I think Bellingham's probably worth 120 million, and I think Bellingham has a far higher ceiling than Declan Rice. Declan Rice is an exceptional player, and I am absolutely desperate for him to join Arsenal. But we've got to be realistic. And someone in the chat on TikTok says it doesn't matter what he's worth to you. It also doesn't matter how important he is to West Ham. Ultimately, West Ham have to look at it and go, are we willing to turn down 85 million now and then potentially lose him on a free and get him for an extra season, maybe two, against his will? It's not worth it. Arsenal need to sign Lavia or Caicedo first, in my opinion, then go back for Rice. Well, so there are other sources saying that Rice is our number one target and that we're going to go for him straight off the bat in the summer. So there's the thing is, if West Ham basically are waiting to see what Jude Bellingham goes for. And in the same way that other clubs, in the same way that, for example, Shakhtar used Anthony going for 85 million as a way of saying, well, Mudrik's worth 100 million in that battle. West Ham are potentially going to wait for Jude Bellingham to go for 150 million and say, well, therefore, Declan Rice is worth 120 million, which would be frustrating because I really think we need to get that deal done as quickly as possible. I'm sure you've already said, but what's your prediction for tonight? I hadn't said it. I said it on TikTok, but my prediction for Real Madrid Man City tonight is 2-1 Real Madrid. I think at the Bernabeu, I think it's going to be a great game. I'm going for 2-1 Real Madrid. And I really hope Real Madrid win because that just... If Man City go into the Everton game at the weekend already thinking about the next leg against Real Madrid that they have to win, I think that could be really beneficial. Would you want another top midfielder with Rice like Caicedo? Yeah, I think the general feeling around the club is that we're getting two midfielders this summer. Rice and another, whether that's Caicedo, which would be the dream. I don't know if we can afford that. Or potentially someone like Kokchu. I keep getting told it's Kokchu. I can't say Kokchu. Or Zubamendi, or Onana, or Lavia, or whoever else. With Granit leaving, do we keep Jorginho? Well, hopefully, Dominic, Xhaka doesn't leave. But yeah, if Xhaka left, then 100% we'd have to keep Jorginho. We just don't have the depth otherwise. Unless the only other option, or not option, but solution, is that it's true that we are trying to mould Smith Rowe into the Granit Xhaka role. In which case, you've got Smith Rowe as another replacement or backup option to Granit Xhaka. But I think we're another season away from seeing that. I don't think we can go from Smith Rowe basically never having played as an 8 to potentially, if you got an injury to Declan Rice, for example, suddenly you're in a Champions League game needing to play Smith Rowe as an 8 in his first season playing that role. I think there needs to be a transitional sort of season before we do that. So that's just another reason that I'd keep Granit Xhaka. Do you think Brighton let Caicedo go for less than 80 million, seeing as they've already got the McAllister money? I don't know. It's going to be really difficult. Chris, good to see you. You too, Archie. Thank you very much. No, I do think it's going to be difficult to deal with Brighton this summer because they're bringing in money left, right, and centre. God knows, if they're going to get 70 million for McAllister from Liverpool, God knows how much they get from Toma or Ferguson or both. They can posture themselves again as saying, we don't need the money. That's the difficulty. So we'll see. We'll see. It'll be interesting. No worries, Joe Madiford. Good to see you. Good to see you. Brighton slowly turning to an oil club. Well, the thing is, Brighton are making their money, right? They're buying players in young and they're selling them for a lot. I mean, again, even though they got battered by Everton, which was really surprising, I thought that Enciso guy or Enciso looked really, really good again yesterday. So, did you see El Nenny's back out on the grass? I did. I think El Nenny has recovered slightly more quickly than was expected. I still don't think. I mean, I don't think even if he was fit, we'd see him again this season anyway. But yeah, it's good to see him back. It means the good thing about seeing El Nenny back on grass, because obviously we extended his contract, or we actually gave him a new 1-year contract for next year. But the good thing is we could actually sell him for even a couple of million in the summer. And if he's fit and ready to play at the start of next season, that could make that quite an easy option. You haven't misguessed the Gooner, Joe? No. Be interesting if it's true that Brighton are after Ndidi if Leicester go down. That would be interesting. Are Forest staying up? Do you know what? I think they are. I think Leeds and Leicester are in real danger now. Would you feel guilty? Would you not feel guilty for Granit if he was to stay and his spot be taken after what he's given us? Love your content. I think that's a natural evolution. I think Granit Xhaka would understand that that's a natural evolution of where the club goes. You'd like to think he's self-aware enough that he probably knows that he is an upgradable player. And I think that would be fair. I don't think he'd complain about that too much, to be honest. Did you see what De Zerbi said about Sunday's game? Yeah, so De Zerbi was fuming after that Brighton performance and basically said his players are going to put it right against Arsenal. So we'll see how that goes. But I think it's going to be a good game. What games do you think Man City might slip up on in the Prem? Well, they've got 4 games left. They've got Everton away, Chelsea at home, Brighton away, Brentford away. And they need to lose one and draw one for us to even have a chance. The issue is I don't see them losing any of them. And that's a real problem because that would mean they'd need to draw 3 out of those 4. I could see them drawing against Brentford on the final day. I could see them drawing against Brighton. I just think they smash Chelsea at home. Do they draw or lose against Everton this weekend? I don't know. I don't see it happening personally. I do have a Brighton ticket. Yeah, I do have a Brighton ticket. I'd like to see OG Nice midfielder Thuram, young promising centre mid, good on the ball and financially would be able to join with Rice. Yeah, Thuram is a good option. I don't know anything about his situation in terms of whether he's looking to move or if Nice are looking to sell him, but Xhaka will stay here until 34, 35 and more likely to sell Partey next summer. Possibly. Although we don't seem to want to have players that are 34, 35 years old in the squad. So I don't know if that would happen. And if an offer came in from another club that could guarantee him first team football consistently for the next few years, I think that's more likely. I do think that's more likely. Moving on, Ilkay Gundogan to Arsenal, potentially. This is coming from Sport. It's not the best outlet. We know that Gundogan is very possibly going to leave on a free this summer and not renew a contract. And Arsenal are interested in him, according to Sport. Arsenal are reportedly considering signing Man City's Ilkay Gundogan on a free transfer this summer. Pep Guardiola praised the midfielder, saying he's one of the best players he's ever trained in his career. Gundogan's got nearly 300 games and multiple trophies for Man City and could be a valuable addition to Arsenal's squad following the successful signing of Jorginho in January. Now, the issue with Gundogan predominantly is that I think he wants to move to Spain and Barcelona are interested in him. Obviously, with Barcelona's financial situation, it may well be that they do end up selling someone like Frenkie de Jong, bringing in someone on a free like Gundogan, and basically using that money to alleviate the financial pressure that they're under. So I think Gundogan probably goes to Barcelona. But you never know. That would be a fantastic signing for us to make. Gundogan on a free, very, very, very good. I can't see Gundogan joining. Arteta clearly wants a young, prolific centre mid that will do the job for years. He will demand high wages and first-team football. Whilst I don't disagree with that, Jorginho doesn't fit any of those metrics either, and we brought in Jorginho. It could well be you sell Jorginho, you bring in Gundogan, and that gives you an extra year or two over Jorginho. Do you feel Rice would struggle to build up from the back? He seems to struggle for England doing that. Lavia Zubamendi seem better at it. No, I don't think Rice would struggle to build up from the back at all. And actually, the role that he'd play for Arsenal wouldn't involve a huge amount of building out from the back. I'm certain that Declan Rice is being looked at to fill the Granit Xhaka role, not the Thomas Partey role. And so I think he wouldn't. I see what you're saying in terms of England. I mean, one, he's playing in front of Harry Maguire, which is anyone would struggle. Look at the current Man United team or the previous Man United team. But secondly, he starts in a far deeper role for England than he would do, I think, for Arsenal. I don't disagree. Classic Rory phrase. Yeah, I do say I don't disagree a lot. And what I normally say is I say I don't disagree, and then I disagree. But it's just a polite way of introducing the fact that I'm disagreeing. How old is Gundogan? I think he's. I want to say 30. Let me have a look. I want to say 30. He is 32. Oh, he's 32. Okay, well that's in that case, that reformulates my opinion. I thought he was like 30. So actually, Gundogan's older than Ignore what I just said about Gundogan and Jorginho, because Gundogan's older than Jorginho. Jorginho is 31, Gundogan's 32. So I was just waffling then, wasn't I? Do you think he'll start? Well, that's the thing. No, I don't think he would start. If we get the midfield that we want, I don't think Jorginho or Gundogan start that much next season. Which is another reason I think Gundogan will probably choose Barcelona if he thinks he's going to get a good amount of game time there. Maguire to Arsenal thoughts? Genuinely would be the worst signing in the history of Arsenal Football Club. Are Chelsea bouncing back next year? No. I don't think Chelsea will bounce back next year. They might get into Europa next year, but they're not going to bounce back to being a top 4 contender next season, I don't think. I think Jorginho will leave in the summer. Yeah, I think we could get money for Jorginho in the summer. We've just got to bring in enough replacements. That's the only thing I worry about. But look, let's get on to the Austin Trusty thing. I think someone in the chat asked who Austin Trusty is. Austin Trusty is an American centre-back. We signed him last January, not the January just gone, the January before. We've sent him out on loan. He's been at Birmingham this season, and he's actually had a very good season at Birmingham. Birmingham fans have been impressed with him. He's 24, so for me, he's at the end of the sort of age where I think you can be loaning players out. I think at that point, you've got to make a decision. You either keep them or sell them. And apparently, Rangers are interested, and Arsenal value him at £2 million. And that just doesn't make sense to me. As Ross just said, Trusty won the Fans Player of the Year at Birmingham. And I just don't understand where this £2 million valuation is coming from. A 24-year-old, done well in the Championship. He's not good enough to make it at Arsenal, maybe. Probably not. Almost certainly not. But £2 million. I mean, we bought him. Let me just bring it up. We bought him for... so he's 24. His market valuation on transfer market is 9 million. We bought him from Colorado last January for just under 2 million. What was the point? Why did we bring him in for just under 2 million, send him out on what has generally been considered by his club, by our club, by his fans, a very good loan, to then sell him for 2 million? I just think that was such a pointless exercise. We should get 6 or 7 million. Yeah, I think we should. I mean, either way, even if you get 6 or 7 million, it's still a fairly pointless exercise in the grand scheme of things. But I'm just like, his market valuation on transfer market has gone up has gone from 2 million euros to 9 million euros. And Ernie says, yeah, transfer market always starts too low as well. So I don't know where this 2 million's coming from, but that is the gossip. This is coming from the Daily Mail. It says Arsenal's £2 million valuation of Birmingham City loanee Austin Trusty has been revealed as Rangers show interest. Arsenal could sell Trusty for around £2 million this summer, with Rangers interested in Birmingham City loanee, as reported by the Daily Mail, yada yada. Trusty has an impressive championship season, featuring in all but 2 of the Blues League games, scoring 4 goals, assisting 2, and being named Birmingham City's Player of the Season. I just 2 million just does not make sense. How many years left on his contract? 2, I think, and a full 2 years on his contract at the end after this. So, yeah, a baffling one, and again, just a symptom of, I think, one thing that Arsenal still aren't getting right, and that is selling players for good money. Imagine that was a Brighton player. They'd be asking 15, 20 million for him. We really seem to struggle to get good fees for players, and it's annoying. And I think it's historical. It's based on the fact that when we desperately needed money, when we built the Emirates and we had no money and we desperately needed cash, we sold players at a massive discount, and there's just a legacy effect of that almost clubs do deal in business. The business that clubs do with Arsenal, they look at players we've sold previously and they go, oh, you sold him for that amount. When was the last time Arsenal sold a player and you thought, how did we get that much for that player? Other than Iwobi and Willock, who were slightly different. Other than that, we just don't get good money for players. I think now we're competing, our values go higher. Well, you'd hope so, yeah. At this point, if we sell Saka, it'd be like for 50 million. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Oxlade-Chamberlain. Yeah, but actually, Oxlade-Chamberlain, at the time that we sold him, 40 million, I genuinely think was what he was probably worth. He's not gone on to be worth 40 million. But again, that's an English homegrown player, so it is slightly different. But only me who's starting to get annoyed at Zinni? No, it's definitely not only you. I've seen a lot of criticism for Zinni over the last few weeks. We've always been shocking. Remember selling Thierry Henry for a measly 16 million? Yeah. Perfect scenario is Bernd Leno, 8 million, and he's absolutely balling in the Premier League. Well, the crazy thing about that, it wasn't even 8 million. It was 8 million if Fulham stay in the Premier League for 2 consecutive seasons and Bernd Leno plays for them. The initial amount was 4 million. 4 million flat fee. They've survived this season, so we get another 2 million. And if they survive again next season and he makes a certain amount of appearances, we get another 2 million. 4 million for a certifiably good Premier League goalkeeper. It's insane. Last high-value player sale was probably 30 million for Cesc. But even that, 30 million for a player of Fabregas's level. It's insane. Was it not 3? I thought it was 4. I might be talking euros instead of pounds, to be fair. It might have been 3 million. It might have been 3 million pounds. But either way, it was a stupidly small amount of money for a player of Bernd Leno's caliber. Especially when you consider we paid 20. Yeah, it was. Yeah, you're right. It was 3 million. So we paid 20 million for him. He played well for us. And we sold him for 3 million. To be fair, 7 million for Mari is good. I don't know if it is good. Again, Pablo Mari, we bought him. We bought Pablo Mari for 8 million. He's gone out to Monza, played really well for Monza. And to be fair, this was our own fault because... I can't find this thing now. This was our own fault because we just... Well, basically, we fixed a fee to him before he even played for Monza. So it was tied into the loan agreement with Monza that if they stayed up, they had to pay 7 million for him. It's not even 7 million. It's 5 million basically, and we paid 6 million for him. So we made a loss on Pablo Mari. It's insane. Yeah, I mean, we bought Pepe for 80 million, and we'd be lucky to get 15 million for him. But ultimately, I know we've gone off on a bit of a tangent there, complaining. But ultimately, there is definitely an issue with selling players at Arsenal, and I actually think in terms of buying players, I think we've done well. We've got players for very good value. 30 million for Martin Odegaard with no buyback clause was unbelievable value. I think Trossard was very good value in the end. Jorginho was very good value. Even Zinchenko and Jesus were very good value. But is the selling side of it, we have to improve. Last summer, I didn't think we'd get a fee. Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong, Ross. And to be fair, I didn't think Monza were going to stay. I don't think many people thought Monza were going to stay up. So, only player who would sell for a profit is Holding. It wouldn't even surprise me if we didn't sell Holding for a profit and we bought him for 2 million. It genuinely wouldn't even surprise me if we didn't sell Holding for a profit. How Pool sell Ibe and Solanke for a total of 50 million is crazy. Yeah, it is, yeah. Arteta knows how to buy, but the office don't know how to sell. Yeah, I think that's the difference, yeah. Do you think Tavares is gone this summer too? I do, yeah. Yeah, 6 million for Martinelli was crazy. But as crazy as 6 million for Martinelli was, you do still have to factor in the fact that we were buying him from the 4th tier of Brazilian football. So it wasn't like, how to put it? It was fantastic scouting. It wasn't necessarily fantastic negotiation because it wasn't like we were competing for him with other clubs. Predictions for the Champions League game this evening: 2-1 Real Madrid is my prediction. 2-1 Real Madrid. Anyway, moving on. The odds and sods was purely just that Arsenal might include Granit Xhaka in a swap deal for Moussa Diaby. This is coming from The Sun, so take it with a pinch of salt. But Bayer Leverkusen and Xabi Alonso is interesting. So this is interesting, by the way, because Bayer Leverkusen's, obviously got Xabi Alonso there. So understands his midfielders and what he's looking for in a midfielder. But Bayer Leverkusen's Xabi Alonso is interested in signing Granit Xhaka, and Arsenal could use the player as leverage in their pursuit of winger Diaby. Diaby's got 14 goals and 11 assists this season, with Arsenal competing against Manchester United, PSG, and Newcastle for his signature. And the only other little bit of news is various outlets reporting that Saka is set to sign his new deal with Arsenal before the end of the season. Now, from what I've heard, it's basically already signed. But what that basically means is that we will announce Saka's signature before the end of the season. Who's the most likely under-21 player you think can break into the first team next year? Ruel Walters. Watching him at the FA Youth Cup final, he looked very mature for his age. For an 18-year-old, physically and mentally looked very mature. Good on the ball, calm, big, strong, can play at centre-back or at right-back, very similarly to Ben White. So I think he's got the best chance. For sure. Anyway, it is time for Guess the Gooner, the game where I give you an ex or current Arsenal player's career path without the Arsenal part in it, and you have to guess who that player is. You get immense pride in the YouTube chat. If you're watching on TikTok and you want to get involved on YouTube, link is in my bio to head over, get involved. There is serious pride on the line here. The person that has the Arsenal ball knowledge in the YouTube chat and gets it, significant levels of pride. So let's get into it. Let me just bring up the tab. All right, so this player started at KSK Beveren. They went to Le Mans. They went to Lille. They went to Roma. They went to HB CFFC. They went to Parma. They went to Trabzonspor. And they went to Aris Saloniki. And no one has got it yet. It is not Koscielny. It is not Pepe. It is not Adebayor. And Joe Madaford has got it. Someone got it on TikTok as well. Congratulations to you. Joe Madaford first. George Christodoulou second. Curo third. Ernie fourth. And Tom McFadden in fifth. It was indeed Gervinho. It was indeed Gervinho. The hairline warrior. What a man. What a forehead on that man. It was indeed Gervinho. Magnus, good to see you. Congratulations to Joe. Round of applause to Joe in the chat for getting that correct. Gunner King, Dan. I knew it was the guy with the dead trim, just couldn't remember his name. Oh, you can't do Gervinho dirty like that. But no, he did have arguably the worst trim in Arsenal Football Club history. And that's saying something as well. Roma and Lille gave it away. Yeah, possibly. To be fair, I saw the shouts. Le Mans to Lille. The French shouts were coming in. But it was indeed Gervinho. Have I packed the Prem Tots? I've packed every single Arsenal Prem Tots, yeah. Palmer gave it to you. I spent most of my time there watching Walters. He looked really good, especially on the ball. Yeah, I agree, Jamie. I agree. And now that the pride of the chat has gone to Joe Madiford, it is time for the Guess the Non-Gooner. This is a player who has never played for Arsenal, doesn't play for Arsenal. I give you their full career path. And if you get it correct in the YouTube chat first, you get a level of pride. Lower level of pride than guessing the Gooner correctly, but a level of pride for your ball knowledge nonetheless. Are you ready? This player started at Hamburg. They went to Bayer Leverkusen and Tottenham Hotspur. Hamburg, Bayer Leverkusen, Tottenham Hotspur. And there we go. They're flooding in, and it is Ernie has got it first. Ern got it first. George Christodoulou second. Thomas Hickey third. Dominic Riego fourth. Sunix fifth. Joe Madiford sixth. The Scientist seventh. Trucker, George, Kareem, all getting it correct as well. Julius as well. But congratulations to Ernie for getting that correct. Lots of people got it on TikTok as well. Congratulations to you. So there you go. That's our winners for today. Our winners for today. Congratulations. Do you know what? Gunner King said Van der Vaart, which is a fantastic. That's a shout that I appreciate. Because he was Hamburg. He was Hamburg, and he was Tottenham. So I'll rate that from Gunner King. Missed guess the Gooner. Unlucky, Thomas. Unlucky. You were just too late for it today. Tom McFadden says, want to see Cozier Dubry playing for us soon, as Reece Nelson may be going out the door. I think Cozier Dubry needs at least a season on loan first. I think he's a great talent, definitely following in the footsteps of Bukayo Saka. But there are definitely... Basically, he's unfortunate with his timing in that Bukayo Saka was able to come into a very bad Arsenal team and get the experience he needed in that Arsenal team where there wasn't anyone better than him. Cozier Dubry is maybe at Saka's level at that age, but Arsenal themselves are at a far higher level. And so I don't think you can start trying to bring Cozier Dubry into the Arsenal senior squad without sending him out on loan first. That's just unlucky timing. But I think in terms of he's far too reliant on his left foot. He still has some building out to do physically as well. So, yeah, I think loaning him to the Championship. He is more talented than Saka. Maybe at that age. But he's not good enough to play in the Arsenal first team. At Cozier Dubry's age, Saka was nowhere near as good as Cozier is at the moment. I don't think he was that far off. I genuinely don't. Having watched Cozier Dubry a lot recently, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. He did play at the FA Youth Cup final, yeah. Anyway, it's been a good stream on YouTube. It has been a very good stream. Lots of transfer news that we got through there. And I massively appreciate you turning up. If you are watching, please do smash the like button on YouTube. It massively helps me. Drop a subscription if you haven't done already. Targeting 3,000 subscribers. We'll be back again 5 p.m. tomorrow. As always, have a great evening. Hopefully, we get an absolute banger of a match between Real Madrid and Man City. Hopefully, Real Madrid win. But other than that, I will catch you tomorrow. Goodbye.